So mobile manufacturer Oppo is well known for churning out some great value budget handsets, but it's also on top of its game when it comes to the premium tech. In fact, in recent memory, it has produced some of the best premium smartphones, including the excellent Oppo Find X2 Pro. But if you rather understandably can't stretch to the near £1,000 asking price of the Find X2 Pro, then maybe check out this bad boy instead, the Oppo Reno 4 Pro 5G. The global version of the Reno 4 Pro can be snaffled for around 600 quid these days from the likes of Carphone Warehouse and other select UK retailers, and you know what, it is still proper pro. Now, I've had Oppo's Reno 4 Pro 5G stuffed in my pants for the past week or so, using it as my full-time personal smartphone. So here's my full Reno 4 Pro 5G review, and for more on the latest greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now for me, the Oppo Reno 4 Pro was pretty much a case of love at first sight, or really first fondle, because I love how slender and compact this thing is. Now versus the near 7-inch monsters that I've had to grapple with recently, this svelte little beast definitely feels like an absolute breath of fresh air. Can you really say that something feels like a breath of fresh air? Nah, bollocks to it, you can now. So one-handed use is certainly a lot easier than with a lot of rivals, apart from when you're trying to reach up to something at the top end of that display. You do have some one-handed help here on the Reno 4 Pro, but unfortunately if you're using the old gesture navigation, then that does make it a lot more awkward to activate. The Reno 4 Pro 5G is a good-looking wee beastie too, reminiscent of many a Samsung phone with its curved sides and those incredibly skinny bezels, plus of course that seductive arse end. You've got a choice of 3 different hues here. You've got green glitter or galactic blue if you like a nice vibrant, vivid finish. Otherwise, if your style is a bit more Batman-y, then check out the space black version instead. And yeah, that may sound kinda dull compared with the others, but it's really brought to life with this rather spiffing rainbow effect. Ooh. And a subtle gradient pattern fades in and out of view as the light catches it just so, and I can see that bit being rather love or hate. I'm personally not a fan, but it's hard to notice anyway. Now, Oppo seems to think that the only part of the Reno 4 Pro that's coated in Gorilla Glass is the front end Gorilla Glass 5, just to help protect it from the elements, stop it from getting scratched up. Although Corning, who actually makes Gorilla Glass, seems to think that both the front end and the back end is Gorilla Glass 5. Well, certainly it doesn't matter either way, because that back end is proper durable. The only damage so far is a tiny wee nick right down here at the bottom end of the phone, and I've had it for a good 2-3 months now. And that's despite me whipping off the screen protector almost immediately, and also I left that bundled condom case well alone just to see exactly how the Reno 4 Pro would handle the elements, and certainly it's been riding bareback and it is holding up very well indeed. Sadly, there isn't any water resistance here though, so definitely don't go dunking it in the bath. Now boot up the Reno 4 Pro 5G and you'll possibly be dismayed to see that it's still running old Android 10, even though we're now into 2021. A beta version of Android 11 is now available for the Reno 4 Pro though, so hopefully it'll actually start rolling out pretty damn soon, and that should bring the latest version of ColorOS as well, because we're still on version 7 here. Still, old or otherwise, I had no problems with the software here. My apps all ran wonderfully and I didn't see any funny little bugs. ColorOS is still rather messy in places, including the frankly terrifying settings menu, but you do get some worthy bonus bits, including some dependable face recognition to back up that in-display fingerprint sensor. And speaking of which, that fingerprint sensor certainly isn't among the best that I've tested, but I found it was generally alright as long as my hands weren't too dry or moist. Ta-da! ColorOS still suffers from the usual foibles like that previously mentioned anxiety-inducingly messy settings menu, but at least there's not much crapware stuffed on this phone. Just the usual tools and that Oppo Relax app, which can actually help you to recover after scouring the settings for something you need. And I've got absolutely zero complaints when it comes to the media chops of the Oppo Reno 4 Pro 5G, beyond the irritating lack of a headphone jack. That 6.5-inch AMOLED display is surrounded by super skinny bezels, so the screen basically stretches edge to edge like with Samsung's premium blowers. That display does actually curve slightly around the edges, just like with Samsung's blowers as well, and I did find that there were some sensitivity issues. Generally the Reno 4 Pro 5G was fine when I was just browsing the web, flicking through my various apps and everything. My palm flesh didn't intrude on the screen and muck things up. But I did find quite often when I loaded up the camera app and I was holding the phone in a horizontal position, like so often when I tried hitting that shutter button, it frankly just wouldn't respond until I adjusted my grip just so. Still, that screen certainly pumps out stunning visuals. The Full HD Plus resolution keeps images sharp, and on vivid mode your eyeballs are full on assaulted with pop-tastic colours. Although an sRGB mode is also on hand for more realistic hues if you need them. The Reno 4 Pro screen is proper bright too, so outdoor visibility certainly is not an issue. And you can choose to have the Reno 4 Pro 5G boost up the refresh rate to 90Hz whenever you're using a supported app or feature, otherwise just leave it at that 90Hz rate full time basically. And certainly the super smooth visuals are an absolute treat, albeit one you would definitely expect at this sort of price point. And since it's an OLED panel, you've got full always-on display privileges with a small selection of designs to choose between. Oh, and a special shout out to this Edge Lighten feature which does this when you receive any notifications. Well, golly gosh, I think I may have just done a little accident. And I gotta say, I wasn't expecting too much from the stereo speaker setup here on the Oppo Reno 4 Pro 5G, probably just because it's so compact compared with a lot of premium rivals. But bugger me blue, did it do a bang-up job. On top volume, it's loud. That earpiece speaker actually pumps out quite clear, crisp audio. It's not a tinny mess like on a lot of other rival smartphones with the so-called stereo speaker setup. Definitely great if you're just kicking back with a bit of Netflix, YouTube, whatever.
Expert Amazfit is fast establishing itself as one of the leading brands when it comes to great budget-friendly smartwatches.
Great stuff, and I also had no issues whatsoever when it came to connecting a variety of speakers and headphones and whatnot via Bluetooth 5.1 when I wanted to kick back with a bit of music. Although admittedly I've had zero chance to actually stress test the SOD when it comes to that side of things, so hopefully it'll still perform well in a really busy public area once those become a thing again. Now, while some rivals like the OnePlus 8 offer Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 at this price point, the Reno 4 Pro sadly makes do with a more budget-friendly Snapdragon 765G. Although it is backed here in the Reno 4 Pro 5G by a frankly ludicrous 12GB of RAM, which is again something I'd expect more from a OnePlus smartphone. That 765G sadly isn't as future-proof, but as with Google's Pixel 5, I had no problems when it comes to performance. Multitasking with 2 apps is still a smooth experience, and you can blaze your way through any Android game out there, including popular fare like Call of Duty on high detail levels. While that display supports 180Hz touch sampling, so your frantic jabs and swipes are instantly registered. Oh, and Oppo's Game Space tool is tops as usual, offering all the usual features like notifications blocking, so you've got no excuse beyond being a bit poo at games when you get your face blasted off by some damn dirty kid who should be bloody homeschooling. Just bear in mind that you can get a Snapdragon 765G smartphone for half the price of this bad boy right now, so if performance is key for you, you don't have to splash the cash. And while you do have dual SIM support here on the Reno 4 Pro, sadly it's only the first SIM card that actually has 5G supported in it, and that just appears to be sub 6 as well, not millimeter wave. The second SIM is 4G only. No beef when it comes to the storage though. You've got a mighty 256 gigs rammed into that slender chassis, so I'm nowhere near filling that up just yet, so I'm not really that bothered that there's no micro SD memory card support. The Reno 4 Pro's 4000mAh battery seems kind of meager compared with many rivals, but thankfully I found it was more than sufficient to get me through a long day almost every time. A full charge normally delivers around 7 to 8 hours of screen on time. That's with plenty of media streaming and all that good stuff as well. I found that the only time the Oppo Reno 4 Pro 5G almost ran dry before bedtime was when I made a lot of use of that camera, especially doing the likes of Skyping and Zooming. And of course, when the Reno 4 Pro 5G is fully drained, you've got that Super VOOC 2.0 65-watt fast charging tech, which will give you a full battery again from absolutely nothing in about half an hour, just over. But there is no support for wireless charging, which is a bit of a shame if you're already on board with that. Now, the triple lens camera slapped there on that rainbow arse is headed up by a 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 sensor. And this can snatch good looking photos in pretty much any conditions from dawn to dusk, complete with natural looking colours and plentiful detail even on those default 12 megapixel settings. You've got a colour boost mode that adds warmth to your photos at the expense of realism, plus a portrait mode that delivers some sleek looking bokeh action. And there's also a night mode that definitely helps out when the lighting is a bit cack. The auto mode does a decent job in low light to be fair, but the night mode does produce more detail and tempers lighter elements. Like a lot of premium smartphones these days, you also get a telephoto shooter on the Oppo Reno 4 Pro as well. In this case, a 13 megapixel effort that offers a 3x optical zoom or a 5x hybrid zoom. At the 3x zoom level, everything still looks crisp, but you will see some fuzz and grain appear at the 5x level, and the zoom lens is definitely best used in good lighting, as nighttime use brings out even grainier photos. And the Reno 4 Pro also sports a 12 megapixel ultra-wide angle lens using a custom Sony IMX708 sensor, which, like most rivals, can't offer the same accurate colour capture as that primary shooter. When you're shooting video in daytime, the Reno 4 Pro serves up just as good results as that photo mode. At 4K resolution, you can expect crisp visuals, while audio pickup definitely gets a thumbs up too. When it's darker, you've got a special night mode which you can activate, although this basically just morphs your footage from grainy and dark to rather bleached out, so it's definitely much a case of out of the frying pan and into another just as burny frying pan. And you'll get very similar video results from the ultra-wide angle lens as well, despite the sensor reportedly being designed for nighttime video use. Last up, that 32 megapixel selfie cam performs well in daylight and photos don't look too soft once you move indoors, although I did find that my indoor portrait snaps came out weirdly grainy. And outdoors the illusion wasn't quite perfect either, but it's not too janky. So that right there's my full review of the Oppo Reno 4 Pro 5G, and as you can see it's not quite a perfect premium device. It's a shame it doesn't have a bit of Snapdragon 865 stuffed in there instead of the 765, which you can find on smartphones about half the price point. But apart from that, very few complaints. That camera tech's really good, the display is gorgeous, the design is lovely and actually fairly compact. Of course at this sort of price you can also get the likes of the Samsung S20 Fan Edition, which also has the 5G support. You've got the likes of the OnePlus 8, of course, Pixel 5. You've got some very strong competition indeed. So a lot of it sort of depends on how much you love Oppo, how much you love ColorOS. But anyway, that's my thoughts. It'd be great to hear your own personal thoughts down below. If you've been using the Oppo Reno 4 Pro 5G, definitely let me know definitely let me know how to speak, because apparently I've forgotten how to. And please do poke subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a lovely week. And I'm going to go have a bit of a lie down, frankly, I think. Cheers everyone, love you.